So Andy and the mayor might be running a little bit behind today. Would you guys like to start the meeting and get moving? And then once they are here, we'll get them caught up to speed. All right. People are still kind of cycling in here. Give them like a minute or so, Jared, and then we can get started.
Hey, Jared, it's Carla. I just wanted to let you know that that link worked this morning for those things you sent. Thank you.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, I don't know if the other link was sent with just certain email permissions or not. That might have been the case, but good.
That's kind of what I thought, but yeah, I've got them now. I'm downloading them now, actually. So thank you.
Okay, sure.
All right. Well, would you guys like to get started? We can let people in as they go. As I was saying, I don't know if y'all heard, Andy and the mayor are running a little bit behind today, so they'll be joining us later. But I wanted to get the meeting started so we could start talking. Do you guys want to do it just like we normally do and have a little bit of roundtable? And then I think Jared has an item to discuss as well. Steve, do you want to go first?
Yeah, not too much to report. I can say that the numbers for this past weekend were good, but it seems like for us, our midweek numbers peaked out the week before. So it seemed like the bulk of spring break was the week before this last one, even though things are going well. The weather's nice. And besides that, I don't really have anything to report.
Okay. Stephanie, how have you guys been?
Tap to speak. So very similar to Steve. We weren't as good as last year at this same time. So that was kind of interesting because I had anticipated that we would do more, especially with this being the last of Jeffco and Clear Creek spring break. I expected Sunday to be busy. However, it was decent, but nothing to write home about. So I also agree that last week, the prior week was much busier than we saw this week. But that's also understandable because people in Denver are planting bulbs and expect spring to come rather than coming up to ski in the mountains.
TJ, how's business over there?
I could just echo what Steve and Stephanie just said.
Okay.
Have a slow week.
Sadie, you're here. How's business for you going?
We actually had I think there was a lot of people that were like kind of wandering around town. So we got a decent amount of shoppers in. So we had a really good weekend. But I also can echo that like during the week has dipped down a little bit, and mainly the weekends have been where we've seen most of the heavy traffic.
Okay. Kent, how's business for you going?
It's going well. Thanks for asking.
Your new kegs are pretty cool. I saw those. Those are neat.
Yeah, they're coming along.
Awesome. Dr. Boland, how is your business going?
Hi, John. Thanks for asking. It's doing fine. I am pivoting some things, as many people have known, because I've sent out some newsletters and notices that I am switching my business location so that I'm not so much in the brick and mortar space, but I'm more telemedicine, which is virtual primary care and home visits. And the telemedicine is both through face-to-face contact on video or via phone, depending on what people in the community have access to. Some people do not have any cell phones at all, and those would be the people that I would make sure I would take care of with the home visits. And then I'm also looking at possibly renting some space, either here in this location because it's going to be taken over by another local business, and also at the rec center. So those are the two possibilities for me continuing to do some visits in an office space, but I still would not be like continuing pap smears or something like that. But we would be able to offer, you know, the EKGs and the full physical exams, sports examinations, treating the regular bread and butter primary care things, coughs, cold, flu, URI, UTI, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, and also like thyroid disorders, diabetes, type 1, type 2, all the regular things that I treat. So I'm excited to be able to offer this. And also I will continue the aesthetics, and I will be doing digital products that will be available online, particularly focusing on the primary care issues in this area, because we have fallen behind a little bit in some of our metrics. And so I want to kind of beef up our primary care knowledge again so that people in the community have a better idea as to where they are and where they may want to be, depending on their motivation, and if they would like to have more motivation, especially with changing our behaviors, like how much we drink, we smoke, we eat, we exercise or don't exercise. All of these things will be helpful hints and lots of free resources available to patients and the community at large, but then also some that will be for pay for each individual module. So I'll start with the initial 10 modules and we'll build from there. So lots of exciting things to come. And I have had some employers come up recently who have expressed an interest. This keeps coming around and around, it seems like in waves, where employers are interested in having me as the primary care physician for their company. And I can send out the sample contract I have for that. And I have some renewed interest in that area again, too. So lots of different irons in the fire. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Ashley, are you there? Could you give us a little bit of an update about parking?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did see a little bit of an uptick at the end of last week, like everyone else did, obviously. Sunday was a little bit less than, we had probably about 200 less parkers on Sunday versus Saturday. Probably just most folks coming back home after spring break. So we probably caught a lot of our traffic on that Saturday. Then the previous weekend we did pretty good, but we did see some drop due to the snow, the late snow in the week. But otherwise we've been doing pretty good. Seeing the bar lots being used more than last year. So that's definitely encouraging going into the summer season.
Great. I know we've got a couple other ones. Alex, you're here. How is life at Bojo's right now?
Life is good. Sorry, the day just got away from me, but yeah, just, you know, at the tail end of spring break, so things are good.
Cool. Mayor Harmon, we've just been kind of talking through the roundtable part of this, just seeing how business is. I think everyone's had a chance to speak except for Carla. I don't know if she has any updates she'd like to provide, but that's where we were. And then Jared, I think, has an update about the marketplace.
Hey, great. Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that.
Carla, do you have any updates for the group?
Yeah, I would love to give an update on the project for Gold Digger Field, former Gold Digger Field. We are going to be in front of Planning Commission with our final development plan on April 6th. So it's Wednesday. And then April 11th, we'll be going to council for approval of our final development plan, God willing. So we'll be moving forward and super excited about that. Otherwise, Space Inc., our company, I just spoke with somebody in town who wants to do a ground up bed and breakfast. So we'll be talking to the city about that, hopefully in the next month as well, to start working on plans for that. Thank you, John.
Great. Does anybody else have any updates or anything they'd like to discuss with the group before Jared has his update?
All right. It doesn't appear so I'll start off here. So a couple things. First of all, the city council tonight will be reviewing the first reading for the CODA, the communal outdoor dining area ordinance. So it does go through a two-step process. The first reading and then the second reading will probably be mid to late April. In the meantime, we are working on a draft security and control plan. So I have put together a brief draft, but we want to circulate it through senior staff first, and then get it out to all the members of the people who hold the liquor licenses, and get some input from all of you. So that we do have a couple weeks to hammer out that plan, and that's what we're hoping to accomplish, is get that ready to go with the second reading of the ordinance in, as I mentioned, mid to late April. And the second item, though, that I want to mention is, and most of you I think know what the code is kind of all about now, but just in case you missed out, a brief recap of that is the mechanism that the city used the last couple of years to allow for the encroachment agreements and serving of alcohol in the street and sidewalk area is going away. It had a limited time to it, and that's the end of May. So the city recognized that was going to be an issue and was seeking a alternative means of still having the full street closure and allowing for businesses to set up very similar to what they've done the last 2 years. So what we talked about here at this group and then with city council is to go into this summer with this CODA, the community outdoor dining area, that would have a security plan that would be kind of a two-level plan. The first level would be for the majority of the time, and that would basically allow for businesses to operate as they did last year, the enclosed areas, signage that talks about not being able to take beverages outside your enclosed area, and then a second tier, which would be for events. And so I know I need to speak a little bit more with Sadie, and I believe she is working on kind of a list of events, but allowing the flexibility for when there's an event going on to be able to carry your beverage to a concert or something else that's going on along Minor Street or potentially in Citizens Park. So that's kind of what the security plan is going to propose looking at. That's and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of the direction that we received from this group, and city council was amenable to moving forward with that as well. The second item I wanted to give a brief update on was Bob Bullen addressed this group and city council last week in regards to a plan that to place more or less a boardwalk along the sidewalks and into the street on both sides. So city council heard that proposal and was amenable to allowing like a trial project if there was someone interested, if there was a business or two interested in trying that out. So no funding from the city was allocated at this point in time. That's something that could be brought back to the city for consideration, but we really didn't get into the finances of that. I believe first we'd like to see if there is an interested party that would like to try it out, and then we could have greater conversations in regards to that. And I know Stephanie wasn't at our meeting last week, but to give a brief recap, Mr. Boland thought that it might be nice to work on an intermediate step in altering Minor Street. Right now, we have the downtown master plan, which talks about a full rebuild of Minor Street in the future. Well, as a stair step to that, Mr. Boland thought that it might be nice to set out about 16-foot plank boardwalk that would stretch across the frontage of a business or a block even, and then the businesses would be able to have their dining area in a portion of that boardwalk. They'd be able to more or less screw tents and things down instead of having buckets. He had a number of ideas in regards to how to make it more decorative with planters and lights, still trying to be very budget conscious. There are still some questions out there in regards to exactly how a couple of things would be done if somebody did choose to do a pilot project. Making sure the grades are right, making sure that there's shimming underneath the boards that hang out into the street to make a solid, flat, very sturdy platform. So he and Stephanie, I can share with you and whomever else is interested some of his drawings that he's put together. As I mentioned, and so this would extend out into the streets. The plan or his proposal would still be to block off the streets in the summer, but in the winter, there would be one through lane and then parallel parking on only one side of the street, because the whole area would narrow down to approximately 20 feet of true street. So I can take any questions on either one of those. If you do have an interest in the potential platform, you can always reach out to me or to Mr. Boland. He's happy to talk with people and then bring things back to the council. Yes, Steve.
Of all these options, where are we at with the enclosed area taking over the sidewalk and going out to the street versus having the sidewalk remain public?
Yeah, so I did receive your email. I haven't had a chance to talk with, we had a couple of staff members out last week, so I do need to look into that. I do believe that if it, the way we left it was if the city believes that your outdoor space that took into account the sidewalks was something that we thought would function, we would need to look at accessibility into the space and making sure that there's also accessibility for other spaces adjacent to the outdoor area, that it would be considered. That's, I guess, as much information as I have for you, Steve, at this point. So I'll take a look at those requests and talk about it amongst staff.
It seems like it's more of a citywide thing than business by business, because it'd be kind of awkward to have one business take over the sidewalk and the next not. Maybe not. I don't know, but it seems like earlier we were talking about it as more of a city plan.
Yeah, John, did you have?
I think what we were talking about, one of the things that has come up is the cost of this program to build the boardwalk the whole way, and kind of looking at like construction costs and how they've been going up recently, and the difficulty we probably would have to acquire the materials and the labor to build that before summer. And so that's how the idea of the pilot project came in, Jared and I walked the downtown and looked at places where we could install ADA accessible ramps that we could move around. And I think what we're trying to do is use this as a pilot project to determine whether or not it makes sense for the businesses to operate that way. You know, making sure that there's ADA access to all the sidewalks. And I think what we were thinking is that you probably know your space and what would be functional more than if, you know, like the micro is maybe a little bit easier to manage. So we might even have 2 or 3 pilot projects. I think we're open to that idea as well. It's just a matter of figuring out what works and what doesn't work, and just being a little sensitive to the context of each situation.
Yeah. Well, let's just say the boardwalk doesn't happen, which it probably won't for this year. Still trying to figure out for our design, is the sidewalk going to be in our enclosed area or is it going to be public? Assuming there's no boardwalk. That's one note. The other thing is, as far as the boardwalk, one thing I'm concerned about, I like the idea, but in the winter time, let's assume we're going back to like it is right now, we would lose our parking in front of the building unless the boardwalk was removable.
There would be a reduction in parking regarding the boardwalk if that was the, you know, the route that the city and the businesses decide to take, indeed. Because there would only be parking on one side of the street at that, in that configuration. Yeah, I do plan, Steve, on talking with a couple other people. It is tough for us to you know, we will still have to take each of these kind of case by case rather than holistically, because we will still have to look at any usage of the sidewalk as in the realm of accessibility yet. So I think that from what I recall, I believe that people were amenable to allowing that if we still felt that function properly.
Mhm.
Hey, Steve, let me ask a question. You mentioned about using the sidewalk, even if the boardwalk's not in place. What does that mean to you all? What does that look like?
For Tommyknockers anyways, we would be able to set tables on the sidewalk, and if it's perfect size to have 4x4 tables kind of set down there, kind of neat European cafe look. And then what it also means that we could have people on the sidewalk consuming alcohol without it being a violation. And we can also walk back and forth to service the tables that would still be in the street without cross collateral pedestrians walking by. There's a little bit congested sometimes trying to get trays of food out across the sidewalk.
Okay. I'm joining the meeting late, and if this has been covered, I apologize, but I think the city would be, as part of a pilot project, would be open to, for instance, Tommyknockers coming up with a proposal to do just that. And I think what we'd like to see as a city, of course, I know you all would want this as well, is how are we going to maintain access to the rest of the sidewalk and you know, ADA accessibility and all of that. So I think we, as far as working our way towards where we'd ultimately like to be down the road with the downtown, is hearing what you have, you know, maybe receiving a proposal from you all, Steve, for doing that. Again, through the summer, understanding that the pedestrian access would be down the middle of the street, I gather, and then but you still have access to the other businesses that are to your east. And I think that's doable this year. I mean, you know, summer's gonna be here before we know it, but I think that's certainly doable. And the same would go for any other business that might be interested in doing the same thing. I think we, you know, case by case basis, we could consider that.
Okay.
And how do you want that?
Carl, I see you're.
Sorry, how do
go
you
ahead,
want that
Stephanie.
formalized? And the only reason that I'm asking is that for me, it means for westbound and down, it means benches so that we aren't interloping onto the sidewalk per se, so that we still have the ADA 5-foot necessary easement. So to whom do I direct that to, and how do I make this happen?
You can send it to me, any drawings, And, as I mentioned, we'll chat about it, and, we'll probably have to come out and do a site visit and just talk about how, how we could feasibly make that work and still allow for access for the other businesses.
Okay, thank you.
And Stephanie, there would be some impact with obviously your liquor license, the premises, and we'd need to coordinate with Wanda Martell, our deputy city clerk, on that. And so it'd be a new revised sketch of what that looks like, and we'd have to make sure we get the proper approvals for that.
Okay.
And Jared, the drawing that I sent you was just the perimeter of the alcohol envelope, if you want to call it that. The details of where we put the ADA ramps and things like, which we would take the responsibility of actually building that, aren't on there. It was just for the sole purpose of showing where we'd like your alcohol permit to be.
Yeah, and
perimeter.
that might be able to work, or we might need to at least have the ramp sketched on it. But yeah, I was going to touch base with staff this weekend, and get back in touch with you. But yeah, I just re-looked at it again, and
Carla, I see your hand was up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I think, and Stephanie may be able to talk to this, but didn't Marcel do something where he rose that back area up to the curb so that it was more of a flat space, or maybe he put something over it to cover wires or something?
We do. We have that done. That is correct.
So John and Jared, it might be worth, if you haven't seen it, and it's been a long time since I was over there and really looked at it, I should say. So, but it rose it up to the curb height, which might be a clever way of kind of testing it out on the front side of the buildings as well, just to put it out there.
Yeah, it basically covered our electrical.
yeah, that's why I was thinking too. It was probably more of a trap to cover
It was.
any wires, just to make sure that you could go over them safely.
It was, but
Correct.
I think you can walk on it and stuff, and I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
remember exactly what it was, what it all entailed. But
It was basically like a threshold.
yeah,
So you could wheel a wheelchair over it. I don't believe that it met the curb, however.
okay. Yeah, for some reason I thought it did, but like I said, I could be remembering it incorrectly.
Any other thoughts or comments on this item that I can address?
Jared, did you mention about the ordinance going to council tonight? Okay, thank you.
I did, yes.
Great.
For the businesses that are not normally on this call, Jared, what is your kind of timeline or final date that they need to submit their area proposals to you by?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, let's see, let me look at a calendar here. Because we will probably have the ordinance in place on April 25th. I mean, I'd be happy to review anything prior to that. I guess maybe the end of April. How does that sound? Just because I know that would still give you a couple weeks to tweak anything, but it'd probably be nice to have any proposals in by the end of April.
I think that's a really good timeline. And I did also want to let you know that John and I are going to sit down here soon and get that complete list together so that we can have a full events calendar for you, so that when we send it to the state, we'll have all that ready to go.
Excellent. I would really like to have it as an attachment to the ordinance or to the security plan, one of the two. So, excellent. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? I had a question for Sadie. If and I apologize if this has already been covered, but I understand that the Downtown Marketing Alliance was going to look at perhaps a closer working relationship with the chamber. And I'm sorry if I missed the update, or is there an update on that?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. Thank you so much. I spoke about it a little bit last week, and I believe you were absent from the meeting. But the Chamber and the Marketing Alliance have decided to join forces. We're actually going to go ahead and the ISMA board is meeting tomorrow to take our official vote on it. But we had a great mixer, wonderful feedback from the business community that they would really like to see one business organization. So we're going to go ahead and function as one under the Chamber's umbrella, and the Chamber is going to be doing some rebranding and restructure in partnership with the ISMA, and then we're going to be excited to start partnering and working more closely with the city and helping represent all businesses in Idaho Springs.
Okay, Sadie, thank you. And I'm sorry I missed that meeting, but all of that is wonderful news. So thanks for the update on that. Before we go, does anybody have anything else? I just want to say thank you very much. Oh, yes, Stephanie.
That's all right. I just kind of working with that security part. I do have tips training happening at Westbound and Down on April 7th and April 11th. And any business who's interested in sending people, it's $40 per person. It's a 3-hour class from 9 a.m. to noon on Thursday and on Monday. And love to have you there. It's just a really good thing as far as alcohol abuse and use, and how we can make sure that we aren't sending people out the door intoxicated.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. Very, very good to know. I appreciate you bringing that up. Anything else? I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks a lot, everyone.